Hey guys, and welcome back to my Star Wars The Clone Wars vlog series. And today I'm talking about my review of Season 1, Episode 12, The Gungan General. Yeah, so what could have originally been an interesting conclusion to the whole Dooku imprisonment thing was just completely ruined. They had to rein Jar Jar, and he had to fumble his way towards victory, and on top of that, whoever voiced Jar Jar in this episode was not the same guy as the Bombad Jedi. I only know that because he sounded completely wrong. He sounded completely different. It was very weird, very off putting. But suffice to say, Obi-Wan and Anakin still ended up. Maybe they got drugged, or maybe the alcohol they drank was too strong for them because they did switch out the drugged drinks with the normal drinks. So at the beginning of this episode, they do wake up captured and they're in the same cell as Dooku. And these three, this unlikely trio, tried to escape like 2 or 3 times. But they keep getting thrown back into custody, and so, like, originally, like, Jar Jar and another senator with a bunch of clones were going to come to make the ransom deal, but the other senator dies in the crash when their ship gets shot down by a group of the pirates. Because one of them is like, yeah, let's shoot down the ship, let's take the spice for ourselves, and let's leave. And then what ensues is like, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Dooku continuously trying to escape, and then the clones and Jar Jar trying to find the base, and Jar Jar just completely tripping his way through, and also having a very strange voice. So I'm like, that's too bad. And then at the end, Dooku, like, they made Jar Jar's fumbling, you know, clumsiness ends up taking the power out at their base, and so Dooku's able to escape on his own and steal a ship. So no ransom for anyone. And when Obi-Wan and Anakin um manage to get out after the power goes out, like, they're like, all right, well, just we're letting you go. As they capture, they hold the leader of the pirates at lightsaber point as they try to get out, but then they just let him go, and they're like, we have no quarrel with you. There's no ransom to be made because obviously Dooku got away, and it seems that the leader of this group of pirates has some like sense of honor. He's like, oh, it's very honorable. And they just let him go. So at least the stuff with like the pirates and Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Dooku was interesting, but the creators of the show just had to bring in Jar Jar. I do not want more Jar Jar fan service, but I know that's asking way too much because it's gonna be a continuous thing. He's gonna constantly pop up in episodes that are completely inappropriate for him to be in. Same with C3PO. C3PO is an absolute menace and a liability when he's brought into the middle of dangerous situations. Both C3PO and Jar Jar completely almost destroy the missions that they end up being involved in. They somehow get out of there in one piece, and sometimes their clumsiness and their like idiocy actually works in the good guys' favor. But I'm like, because that's the thing, like C3PO has always been like a kind of a comedic relief ever since first Star Wars movie, but he has only become kind of a clumsy liability since the prequel films, and they're just sticking their guns to that, and it's really annoying. And Jar Jar is like also really annoying because it's like that's the thing. Jar Jar in a Phantom Menace, especially when I rewatch the movie, isn't nearly as awful as everyone makes him sound. Like, I was a kid when the movie came out. It was my first like I mean, I saw some of the original films in theaters when they got re-released, but otherwise it was my first like brand new Star Wars theater experience. And like Jar Jar's just been one of those characters where, yeah, like he wasn't nearly as bad in Phantom Menace as I remembered him being, even though he did do some stupid stuff, but it wasn't anything that was like um super egregious. And then in episode two, it's like he does try to take his representative title seriously and is very, he's not annoying in that, in the few scenes he is like at all. Whereas Jar Jar in the series is completely obnoxious and just doesn't even, he just doesn't belong in these situations, just like C3PO doesn't have to be thrown into so many situations that he has been so far in this series. And I know that that's never going to happen. They're going to continuously be thrown into scenarios where they thematically do not belong. And I unfortunately just have to accept that. But I'm going to gripe about it every time it happens because there is a certain degree of, I still have like certain um expectations with a Star Wars story. And just these comedic relief things that are just kind of super inappropriate. Because that's the thing, the comedic elements in the prequel series and in the sequel series were perfectly fine. Like, yeah, Jar Jar could be annoying at times in Phantom Menace, but otherwise, everything tonally just was fine, you know? Like, I can complain as much as I want about how Rise of Skywalker was. Just all the lore, canon, story, character decisions that were completely just awful. But as far as humor went, like the humor in like the sequel series was perfectly fine. I had no issues with it at all. Um, but the whole like insisting on using C3PO Jar Jar as some comedic relief just isn't jiving well with me. But anyway, that concludes um, this little mini story arc with Dooku being captured, and it did so while it didn't go exactly how I wanted it to, just because of Jar Jar being involved, like that completely ruined it for me. I did enjoy everything else about um, this episode, and I think the next one is going to be a new story, so I will watch that during my next little binge, and I will see you in the next one.